I'm Krazy, and these are 10 games from the summer sale that I recommend. Number 10 at $12 is Inside. This is a game from the people who made Limbo, and it's basically a puzzle adventure platformer. In this game, you are trying to survive as what is trying to kill you. It's not entirely clear through most of the game what exactly the nature of the enemy is. At about 4 hours long, it's kind of on the short side, but each stage of the game feels distinctive, and the overall visual style is quite appealing. So overall, I give it a recommend, and I think you should at least consider it, although it's not the biggest sale in the world. At number 9 is Event Zero, also at $12. This is a typing-based puzzle game with an insane AI. So if you enjoyed other games with insane AIs like that kind of setup, such as in 2001, which is not a game but a movie, or more likely, like Portal, it can be pretty amusing. Some of the puzzles can be, you can definitely feel the slowdown, and that's the problem with any sort of puzzle game. But on the whole, I find this one of the stronger puzzle game offerings around. So I would still suggest checking it out if you enjoy puzzle games. At number 8, we have Brigador, the Up Armored Edition. This is a MechWarrior style game that is, really kind of interesting. It has 3 distinct mech classes. So there's your kind of classic MechWarrior deal. Then you have your tanks, which kind of just try to drive into buildings and plow things down while using specific types of weapons. And then you have hovercraft, which fly over terrain. So in this one, you're saying this the kind of normal mech, but it's actually a really pretty satisfying game, and I'd definitely suggest at least checking it out if you ever kind of enjoyed anything in the MechWarrior vein. At number 7, we have Anomaly 2, a $3 game, so pretty much the least expensive game I'm offering or suggesting right now. This game is a real-time strategy game where you don't really control the units, so it's a lot less kind of intensive than something like StarCraft 2. But there's still definitely a sense of positioning where you're generally having to rearrange the units in your attack line, and you're controlling one unit who supports the line of attackers. So you set up distractions and you heal the line of attackers so that they can destroy the crazy tower-based enemies. So it's like a reverse tower defense. And number 6 is Ziggurat with $375, not terribly expensive. I kind of think of this as kind of like a wizard-themed Doom. So I feel like this game was, meant to show off certain types of engines, but honestly, just as a game on its own, just playing on your PC, I think it's actually pretty satisfying. Definitely easy to die until you kind of get the hang of it, which does, kick you back to the start of the game. But the idea is that as quickly as possible, you try to get 4 different wands, and then you switch off as you run out of ammo on each wand. So as you kill enemies, the wand ammo recharges, and you're good to go. And number 5 is Chroma Squad. Chroma Squad is a turn-based tactical RPG. The idea here is that not only are you trying to defeat the enemies, but you're trying to defeat the enemies in a way that will be appealing to the viewer that you're trying to put on this TV show for. So it adds kind of this extra kind of silly challenge to the combat, but it also makes it a lot more satisfying because then pretty much everything you do is supposed to be thematic and stylized, and it just makes it for a very satisfying and enjoyable tactical RPG. At number 4, we have Steamworld Heist, a $5 game right now on sale, and I definitely found this a enjoyable game as well. There's 2 games in the SteamWorld franchise. There's also SteamWorld Dig, and they're very, very different. This one is basically a turn-based tactical RPG, very different than Chroma Squad, though, where you are shooting guns and you're trying to collect water, which is the main form of currency in SteamWorld, because these are all steampunk-style robots. So you wander around space, fighting enemy pirates, and collecting water. It's kind of interesting and quite enjoyable. Number 3 is Hand of Fate at $5. This game is a card-based role-playing game. So you select cards and you move through the cards on each stage, trying to reach the end of the stage to fight the end boss. The actual combat in the game is not too deep, but the interaction between the combat and the cards actually makes it really enjoyable. So it's definitely not a game that you would get for the combat on its own, but rather the strategy of dealing with the events and the card actions as you progress. On the whole, though, I think it's definitely one of the more enjoyable games I've played recently. Number 2 is Mini Metro at $7. It might not look like much, perhaps, but this game is surprisingly enjoyable, for me at least. The idea is that you're trying to get passengers to their desired stops. And it's basically a management sim, sure. You're trying to get the circle passengers to the triangle stops, and as you go through the game, more stops are constantly being added, so the system as a whole becomes more and more complex, and sometimes, shapes change and things like this. And you have to deal with bridges. But definitely, in terms of just a management strategy game, it's really deep and really fun. Definitely check it out. And the number 1 game I'd recommend right now is Salt and Sanctuary. So this is a Dark Souls style Metroidvania, I guess you could say. So the idea here is that you are trying to collect salt, which is the currency in this world, to maintain more upgrades, but you're also trying to rescue a princess. Not necessarily the most original premise for a game in that regard, but the mechanics of the game are really satisfying. The enemies are fun to fight, the combat is just very solid, and the platforming is also pretty good, but the main thing is really, I would say, the boss fights. But anyway, I would say these are 10 fun games that you should definitely check, and I hope that you will. And so these are my 10 recommended games from the current Steam sale.